Hello, and welcome to Quick Charge by Electrek. I'm Mikey G, and it's Tuesday, January 17th. Surprise, surprise! Tesla is currently experiencing unprecedented demand in the US following significant price cuts that happened just last week. On top of the direct price cuts increasing sales, many Tesla models are now eligible for the new $7,500 federal tax credit for electric vehicles in the US. In some cases, this reduced the cost of Tesla vehicles by as much as 30% compared to last year. Sources familiar with the matter told Electrek that many Tesla stores in North America had reached their new record for sales in a single week. The inventory is decreasing at record rates in several U.S. markets. As for new customer orders, Tesla will likely run out of blind slots for the North American market in the next few days. Normally, this doesn't happen until later in the quarter. Tesla may have started a price war, a war that we believe they can win. Looking at Tesla's closest competitor in China, Xpeng announced on Tuesday that it would cut prices on some of their most popular models. Xpeng is slashing prices by as much as $5,300, such as their P7 sedan, their best-selling model. That starts at nearly 13% lower in price. Their P5 sedan and G31 SUV are also receiving cuts. The company did specify that the price on the G9 remains the same. Tesla slashing prices in China will make it challenging for companies like NIO and Xpeng, which are still trying to turn a profit. Xpeng is bleeding money as losses have widened to $330 million in the third quarter, and with vehicle margins also slipping due to a higher input cost. Hertz and Uber have announced today that they are expanding their partnership to electrify their fleets, and they are deploying 25,000 electric cars in Europe. All of this started back in 2020 when Hertz announced an effort to electrify their fleet of rental cars, led by a massive purchase of 100,000 Tesla Model 3 vehicles. The company reserved the option to buy more Teslas, and they also added to their fleet from Polestar, Ford, and many others. Hertz has confirmed that nearly 50,000 Uber drivers have rented a Tesla through the program, and they are being deployed to Europe. The deal should significantly increase the number of EVs on Uber's ride-sharing fleet and bring them closer to their goal of operating with only electric vehicles by the end of this decade. Ford is adding a new solar power plant to its manufacturing facilities in Valencia, Spain. Aside from their global electric vehicle push, Ford is also working toward achieving their climate goals for operations. Ford is committing to having 100% zero-emission electric car sales in Europe and is also striving to achieve carbon neutrality across its European facilities and supply network by the year 2035. The existing 2.8 megawatt solar panel installation at Ford's Spain plant is now capable of generating 4,641 megawatt hours per year. But now Ford plans to expand the plant by adding an additional 3,768 megawatts of solar capacity. By the year 2024, the company is targeting close to 10 megawatts of peak power, including potentially installing solar panels on the factory roofs. I would think they would do that first. But anyways, globally, Ford aims to achieve carbon neutrality by the year 2050. The new vehicle from Sony Honda Mobility, called the AFEELA, is going to be a bit expensive, and now the company has proposed a method of acquisition for the public. Loaded with advanced technology with 45 different sensors, the upcoming EV will come with an 800 trillion operations per second chip from Qualcomm, capable of enabling level 3 and 4 autonomous driving if and when those become more safe and regulated for widespread use. Sony and Honda expect the AFEELA to be an EV that customers enjoy and keep for years and maybe even a decade. Although we don't even know the EV's starting MSRP, the Sony Honda Mobility chairman and CEO, Yasuhide Mizuno, said, quote, "Replacing the car every 3 to 5 years is a very traditional methodology. But now, big change. This car is always updating. Therefore, we try to utilize customers over 5 to 10 years. Now, you can take this with a glint of wonder the way that I do. After leasing a car for 10 years, as was proposed by the company, I would hope that there's something in it for me, considering that I wouldn't own the car. Anyways, looking ahead, Mizuno said that the first AFEELA EV will likely be built in the U.S. at a new manufacturing facility that Honda is planning to erect in Ohio. Mizuno also stated that the joint venture is planning an entire EV lineup and that the AFEELA sedan will eventually be joined by an electric SUV, followed by a sedan or possibly a minivan. Electrek takes a look at the used EVs that qualify for the federal tax credit under the Inflation Reduction Act. Taking a look at the criteria, the IRS states it as, quote, "If you buy a qualified previously owned electric vehicle, EV, or fuel cell vehicle, FCV, from a licensed dealer for $25,000 or less, you may be eligible for a previously owned clean vehicle tax credit under the Internal Revenue Code Section 25E. Now, the details that follow are both in description of the buyer, the seller, and also the car itself. To qualify as a buyer, you must, quote, be an individual who bought the vehicle for use and not for resale, must be an individual and not a business, not be the original owner, not be claimed as a dependent on another person's tax return, not have claimed another used clean vehicle credit in the 3 years before the EV purchase date. Modified adjusted gross income must not exceed $75,000 for individuals, $112,500 for heads of household, and $150,000 for joint returns. Now, going into the car, it must have, quote, a sales price of $25,000 or less, have a model year at least 2 years earlier than the calendar year when you buy it. For example, a vehicle purchased in 2023 would need a model year of 2021 or older. Not have already been transferred after August 16, 2022, to qualified buyers having a gross vehicle weight rating of less than 14,000 pounds, be an eligible FCV or plug-in EV with a battery capacity of at least 7 kilowatt hours, be for use primarily in the United States, and finally, a used vehicle qualifies for the tax credit only once in the vehicle's lifetime. Okay, the section for dealers is actually pretty sparse, so there's probably a lot of paperwork on the dealer's end, but for the shoppers concerned, the IRS says, quote, purchased from a certified dealer. For qualified used EVs, the dealer reports required information to you at the time of the sale and to the IRS. Okay, so those are the gory details, but we also have a very comprehensive list on our website detailing all the electric vehicles that qualify for the credit and how much. You can find all that wonderful additional information on our site, electrek.co. In today's community comment found on YouTube, an Electrek superfan named Hugo2001 says, freakin' Electrek always hating on Tesla. Stop it already, you guys suck. Thanks, Hugo2001. I'm going to guess that you are a new viewer to the channel, as you haven't been around long enough to see the stories that we report on where Tesla does well. It's happened before that a commenter will come in, guns a-blazing, only to stick around and realize that we report on Tesla, both good and bad. The bad news has to come from somewhere, and in the case of yesterday's story, it's quite clear that Tesla switched the brakes as a cost-savings measure and put a cover over them to mask the difference. I don't know what kind of spin you want me to put on that to earn your praise, but if you stay around long enough to hear today's story, you will have heard the good news about Tesla all the same. I am of the opinion that Tesla will continue their meteoric rise and rapid global expansion. I am eagerly awaiting Tesla to hold valuable market share on one of the largest and most profitable disruptions that the world economy has ever seen. Bad news, like the brake covers, they come and go, but watching the big picture is where you will become as optimistic as I am. Thanks for your heavenly comment, 2001 Hugo, and thanks for watching Quick Charge by Electrek. I'm Mikey G, and I hope you have a great day.